Good afternoon. I'm delighted to welcome you to our session today, particularly since most of our colleagues are doing their frantic, whatever last minute grading needs to be done. And so I appreciate you taking the time to join us today. I have a Padlet link showing on the screen. So this is our fall wrap-up reflections, and it pleases me to welcome you as our guest presenters. You didn't realize you were going to get a task, did you? I am facilitating this for you. I wanted to get your perspectives on this really unique semester and the changes, the things that have taken place as we've moved from August into December. So again, as I say, this really is your session today. So we're going to be sharing our reflections on the semester and what things we have experienced throughout this semester. We'll look at it through the lens of our what our expectations were coming in, and maybe they've changed since then, what concerns we've had and still have. We want to take a closer look at the uh, changes in our perspective, in how we have addressed things as they've come up, and the strategies that we have used or adapted to use as we have moved through the semester. And I want us to really take a minute to think, which you can tell by my Padlet questions, about some of the moments of inspiration that we have enjoyed throughout. So um, let's take a look at what we have in there. First question has to do with the reflection. Yep, we made it. We did make it. Thank you for those comments. So words to describe, and we'll talk about those, our reflections on those initially. Disconnected. We felt a different format, a different form of connection just wasn't the same, and building trust with them. So I have a feeling that you have found other ways to build trust. So please feel free to join us in the conversation. It was interesting with the pandemic and the cases. We felt the need to check in with the students more than usual, and they really appreciated those check-ins. And I did not see if this was your comment and you wish to, whoops, and you would like to elaborate on it a bit. You are welcome to. Surprising, not just the negative surprises of COVID or adapting to the technology, but the positive surprises of the resilience of our students and getting to know them better, which is one of the really, really interesting things um, about teaching online, because if you've not done it before, the perception is that we don't get to interact with our students as much. And we have many, many faculty who feel that they interact a lot more with them. So I'm going to, I love this learning. I learned so much, and I love that comment because as an instructor, I nearly always tell my students, I never step in front of a class, but that I don't learn something. It is my fervent hope that they also do too. I'm never completely sure, but that's also my hope. So if you posted the learning comment, we are welcome to have you join in. We're going to come back to some of the other questions, and I would love for you to continue posting the in the Padlet.
I just wanted to offer that I was the person who wrote Disconnected. And so I
Yes.
thought, if you wanted me to expand on that, I think, so I
Sure.
teach a small research methodology course, and this was the first time that I had taught online. So lots to be learned, and I had no idea how much, which you'll see reflected in my other comments. But in this course, my students are working with research mentors and writing a grant proposal, and I have to build trust with them really quickly so that we can talk through the tough realities of that sometimes. And I was just like not satisfied by what I was able to pull off this semester. And I can see I have a long way to go. So it was tough for me because switching format really compromised that key component of my course. So I have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and it is. It's a huge adjustment, certainly on our students' part, but on our part as well. And yet it can work. It can work. So we're with you as you move through that, and helping you, giving you some guidance, some words of wisdom for going through. Thank you so much for sharing that too, because it's tough, especially for this being your first experience in teaching online. That makes it a double challenge. One of the suggestions I was going to make, and I think we see it in some of the comments in the Padlet, is let them know, be open and upfront with them, say, hey, this is, I'm not sure about how this is. Of course, we're at the end of the semester now, and I'm assuming that they're going to be making their research presentations for you within the next few days if they haven't already. But just be open with them. Let them know. Let them know. Thank you for sharing that. One of the this was one of the things that I found quite amusing in some of the research that I was doing, and I promise you I won't read everything to you. There's only a few slides that have other text, but on a visit to a doctor's office, and the doctor said, "Gosh, your blood pressure's running high. Are you experiencing stress?" So what went through her mind was, what academic who truly cares about the well-being of their students during the COVID pandemic isn't experiencing stress? What came out of her mouth was, no, nothing out of the ordinary, which is probably the way we would all tend to respond to it. But so I love the way that plays out. And I'm going to take us to the back to the Padlet, because I want to talk about some of the adaptations we've made. So bear with me while I go in there. And so our initial expectations and concerns. Who would like to share? We've got, how hard could this be? I love it. If I only knew. And a little bit worried that trepidation, of course, yeah, yeah. So our initial expectations and concerns. Anybody would like to open your mic and share on that?
This is Christina. Hi, Judy. How are you?
I am good. It's good to hear your voice.
Same. I'm happy to be here today. Yeah, I had raised my hand a little bit ago, but I just didn't want to interrupt. So I think for me, what was very challenging was we were teaching, my course is the anatomy and physiology labs. And I'm also the lab manager for all the biology labs in the Davie campus. So what was very challenging was we had labs offered in person, but of course with a reduced number of students, and we also offered the same lab online. And it was very challenging for the students that were taking the lab remotely to take the course seriously, meaning or dedicate the appropriate amount of time to succeed in the course. And I think even though we made the initial, like the labs are organized that you have like an initial
Sure.
introductory lecture to the lab. So they were taking the lab remotely, but they had to log on and be present for that introductory lecture and even some demonstrations in the lab in
Right.
which they had to take notes of the results as if they were, in person, to try to keep them as engaged as possible. But, we do see the difference between the people who took the lab in person versus the people that took the lab online
Okay.
and some of the ones that took the lab online did excellent, but it was just very challenging and just very frustrating to say, they sign up for the lab, but they are just not, they think that because it's remote, it's going to be easier, or easier to get a good grade. And no, I created what I thought was a course with substance and, so that even though they took it online, it has weight, you know what I'm trying to say, or quality.
Absolutely.
Not like they took the course and they took how can I say, they have the fact that they took it out of a cereal box. I don't know if I'm making sense, but it
What a
was,
great
and I didn't make
analogy.
it harder. It was just
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, so that was my big sort of
Aha
issue
moments.
through
Yeah.
the semester. Yeah.
Well, and that is indeed a perception that is among students for sure who've not been taking online classes, that is going to be easier, and it is often a perception from the faculty, and that it doesn't take any of us very long to figure out that that's not the way it is. It's actually more involved and more work on
Mhm.
both ends. Thank you for sharing that.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Anybody else want to jump in on initial expectations and concerns? Or let's jump over to the changes in our perspectives. This one is this one intrigues me. Uh, so we assume that since we are comfortable with Canvas, and fortunately, by this amount of time, we are pretty much comfortable with Canvas, and yet all of a sudden things are different. Things are different. So there's still more to learn. So I don't know who put that in, but you're welcome to open your mic and share with us. We also have empathy in here, that the students were more open about sharing their struggles and how they're trying to balance it out, and that has been the big question or concern in everybody's mind from our perspective, but it's also on the student's perspective. So willing to change deadlines and make it easier for the students. We have someone who's talking and I'm not seeing the links in there. So I don't know who would like to speak up, but I'd love for you to do that.
I am open, but I'm waiting on the success/strategy section.
Okay,
I'm
well, we're
looking
gonna
for
we're gonna
that.
take this one on some changes in our perspectives, and then we'll come into that. And I love this one. It took a global pandemic to make me more accommodating to my students in terms of extended deadlines, and I'm so glad that I now see their everyday challenges in a new light. Our students have always had challenges, especially those that are trying to work and take care of family and all of the various things that they have on their plates, but we've just become more aware of it right now. So I'm going to take us back. We had an opportunity to think about changes in our perspective, what we think is supposed to happen as opposed to what really happened. Okay, anybody else want to add any comments about a change in your perspective as you moved through the semester? We had someone acknowledge that it took a global pandemic to realize that it's important to be accommodating to our students' needs. Let's go take a look at the successes, our successes and strategies. Dr. Rode, did you want to jump in on this?
My colleague spoke. Oh, I'm Rupert Rod, and I'm on the Davie campus. And I heard one of my colleagues spoke earlier from science about teaching on the Davie campus. Well, our students are different. They are not the traditional students. They are the traditional students, and they commute a lot from work to home and so forth. But what I found, and I was pleasantly surprised when I heard this from a couple of students, is that they were able to complete more courses. And I'm saying, wait a minute, what do you mean by that? They said, because of less travel time, because we are at home working, we are able to organize our day in a manner which caused us to take on more classes and complete more courses. So, wow, that's good. So for them, that was a success for them in terms of this COVID,
Absolutely.
this pandemic period. However, and I must say, what I noticed, however, is that my class average, there was more, more success in terms of passing. I mean, the pass rates went up, tremendously. But the averages were not as high as when I had them face to face. And I think, and I do understand why they were taking on more courses, so they were studying much more, across a wide spectrum, and therefore they spend less time on each course. But they were passing, and I really understood this, and I also know too that, hey, if they were doing this, which means that they could complete their programs in a timely manner. So I think for them, they found a silver lining in this pandemic, in the sense that they completed more courses. They're able to hopefully complete their programs in a shorter period and get out and earn much more, hopefully, after all this pandemic is finished. So that for me was a success for them, and I really enjoyed listening to them and learning from them about that.
And that's great to hear that. I love that. Anybody else want to jump in on that conversation?
Yeah, if I may, I wanted to add, that the issue sometimes with the Davie campus is that, well, it's the Davie campus, right? And maybe the students are taking also their majority of their classes up in Boca. So for them to make the drive down could deter them from maybe signing up for a class in Davie because they just want to avoid the drive. But now that the class has been offered in a online format, then it allows them, they decide to sign up for the class. So one of the things that we noticed now for spring is that registration for Davie courses is super, super high. And it was pretty good for the fall, but now, the spring, we're like super full, at least for, our department.
That's good news. That's good to hear, Christina. We recognize that our students are human, and they recognize that we are as well. More audio, video, and screencast messages with tips on the fly, and assignment overviews and the grading feedback. So part of what we are thinking about and talking about is why we're doing this. And of course, it has to do with those students. This was from another research article that I found, and I felt like these ideas really pertain to all of us. Why we do this? And this was before all of this, before the pandemic started, and yet these things are totally valid. A challenge, a creative outlet, offers continual learning because we do continually learn, interact with our students, and make a difference in their lives. And that is such an important piece of it. So what I'm suggesting is that when we give ourselves the opportunity to, hey, take a deep breath, and we will be able to work through all of this, and we want to do the same thing for our students as well. Let's go back over to Padlet. One of my questions, and actually a couple of parts of the questions. Throughout the semester, we've had moments that bring us joy, and it is those joy moments that we truly want to think about, moments that bring me joy. And I will be the first one to confess that there have been moments that brought me to tears as well. Um, and so I'll come back to that because using Flipgrid is still writing in theirs. Let's go in and take a look. Joy, when and any of you that want to jump in, even if you haven't posted it in there, if you want to jump in and talk about it, uh, the students being patient with us and understanding. Yeah, we are. There's a lot going on here, and then the tears when our students needed extended deadlines because they tested positive or were sick. We had someone else mention that they'd actually had students wind up in the house. Yeah, there we go. This one was two students were hospitalized. Sharing that they appreciate moments of joy, and I've heard this myself, how receptive I am to their questions and their concerns. And many of her students also got COVID this semester, as we've all experienced. Our students have been out there as well and trying to keep their lives going. Um, and so a reminder that we are truly in unprecedented times, the ups and downs of it, the joy that we made it through despite all of our new difficulties, all of our new opportunities to learn, and the tears that we have hearing about our students' challenges. Um, Yes, and Flipgrid is a wonderful way to be able to really interact, to get that interaction. And I'm delighted to know that there are people using Flipgrid, especially for assignments. If you would like to speak up about that, please feel free to. I'm a big fan of Flipgrid, as are several of you, I know. And it's a great way of being able to do those real interactions, not necessarily real time, but interactions back and forth, and see the excitement, their laughter, and their moments online. So that has been a wonderful time. Anybody else want to join in on moments of joy and moments that bring tears? Some of the tears have been tears of joy too. So this is my reference for us, about making sure that we keep our own sanity while we are supporting our students. So be realistic about what we can do. I tend to think of all of our faculty as superheroes, and we have certainly put that to the test this semester. I still think you're all superheroes. Um, so we want to make sure that we practice flexibility. We can. This is not the time to be rigid. While we want our students to be successful and to complete everything exactly the way they should, we also need to make sure that this is an opportunity to offer some flexibility in what we do for them as well as for us. And again, as we've talked about a number of times, considering our students' needs, um, and how they are going to move forward. What I have here on gradual technology, that that may not be an adjective that most of us think of using in terms of technology. But what's important, particularly if this is a new experience for you, is to use the technology that we're comfortable with. We had a comment in there about the uh, about using Canvas. And yes, we've all had some pretty good experience with Canvas. So stick with what you have in there and make that work. And then as you're comfortable with it, then you can gradually bring in one or two of the other tools, both for your own welfare to learn how to use them, but also for the students, because you don't want to throw too much unusual and new things into them. So gradual technology, use what you're comfortable with, and then slowly and gradually add to it. I've got the help in there. Oh, help! Know that there's lots and lots of help available to you. It may be through COCE, it may be through OIT, it may be through colleagues who have worked through one of the challenges that you have. Know that we're all in this together. I've got that somewhere on one of my pages here. We're all in this together. And if you know that there's someone who has worked on a tool or worked on something or had a challenge similar to what yours is, reach out, ask them for help, ask for guidance. You could even invite them to join in on one of your class sessions to be able to help you make sure it works through. So any other tips for maintaining sanity? This isn't one that I have on my on my Padlet chart, but I will welcome any comments, any tips that you have for sanity. Oh, and the quote, "My instructor cared." We need to add on there that the students are able to accomplish more too. Thank you for that comment. So, tips for maintaining your sanity. For me, it's keeping a cup of tea, one of the things, keeping a cup of tea right beside me all the time. But it's also giving myself time to get up, to walk out, to go uh, just get some fresh air. What else? What else? What other tips do you have to share?
Yes, I just have a question or comment for everybody who's here right now is about the flexibility, because I was definitely flexible, but within, you know, uh, what I thought was reason, only because being a lab, they have assignments and things that they
Sure.
need to turn in every
Yeah.
week, and they have to take a quiz. And, my concern, I think, also throughout the semester was to keep the students on track so that they wouldn't fall too, far behind,
Yeah.
in terms of, so I don't know what experience other people that are today chatting here they had, because my concern was really, was I too strict or not? I don't know. I think I was wondering what other people did, or, if they have, I took it on as per case basis, meaning,
Yeah.
the student emailing us and explaining the situation.
Right.
And we were always letting them know that they need to reach out to us, and, if they were having problems in terms of keeping up with the course load. But at the same time, I had to draw the line for certain things, because I also felt, well, if they don't feel perhaps the pressure, they might not finish like do the course, or,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering what other people thought, or,
And that's one of those things that it has to be what at your own comfort level, but making sure you're keeping them on track. And I'm sure this is exactly what you did. Keep that communication coming, even if you send out announcements and messages twice as often as what you normally would in a semester. Just keeping those communication lines open for them is one of the big ways of making that happen. Anybody else want to share on that?
Hello, thank you so much. I did want to, I know that kind of hearing from other faculty and what they're doing kind of helps inform, especially we have a ton of faculty who just want to hear what other faculty are doing in their courses, maybe what
Yes.
works, what hasn't. And so we do this every single month. We get faculty from across the university, every discipline, department, college is kind of represented in there. It's called Faculty Lounge Live. This month, it's on December 16th. That's a Wednesday at 3 p.m. So if you're interested, I can send the link out. We will also send it out to, if you're on our PD listserv, it'll go out. It'll also be on tech events. So that is where basically it's a complete open forum. It's not recorded. It's just kind of like, tell us what you got going on, and then kind of hear from other faculty from all types of disciplines, what they're doing, how they're doing it. And at the end of this session in particular, we're going to kind of gather everyone's thoughts and perspectives and put them into like a little guide. And so that'll be on December 16th at 3 p.m.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nicole. Yeah, and I'm watching the clock. Let me do one more quick look at the here we go. At the at our Padlet. Um, Things that have been special, appreciation and gratitude. Um, Always try to look on the bright side. And then I'm a big fan of the 6-word memoir, so I thought was kind of a neat way of wrapping it up. Words that reflect this semester, and I will share this with everyone, and you're welcome to take a look at what we have in there. Let me jump back in and just have a couple of last comments on, oh, this one I'm not, I definitely am not going to read to you, but the gist of it is, it's like we're doing mental gymnastics every day as we try to move through this. And this was a recent post. Where we're finding ourselves facing technology, facing student issues, facing health things, in addition to all the things that we have going on. We're all taking the risk, and most days we don't fall on our faces, so we can be grateful for that. But we may not feel very graceful. So I just thought this was a really humorous approach to it. And yes, it is, we're all out there doing what we can. So just finding joy in what we do. We're all human. We are, our students are, and they're there. They teach us. We're here to we learn from them. We're all in this together, and that connection, as Christina was talking about, making sure that the students know where they need to be, what they need to do to make sure they stay on target with what's going on with them. And so I'm just going to close it by thanking you for being with us today, for sharing, and for being the wonderfully effective presenters that you are, and for sharing in this journey. Um, Thank you for your dedication to your students, and thank you for being your totally amazing self. You are our superheroes, so thank you so much.